All right, hey everyone, welcome to Live with Tiffany. It is Impact Thursday where I get to talk to an entrepreneur, a visionary, an all around extraordinary person just doing big things. And they're going to share with you what's impacting their life and how they're impacting yours. And today I'm so excited to have a dear friend of mine, Staci Ann from staciann.com on. How are you doing, Staci?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for being on with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be able to talk with your audience today.
Yay. Stacy, if you haven't heard of her, you will. And you're going to see a lot of her, I'm sure. But she is the list building queen. And she has a lot of good tips that she's going to share with us on today's call. So I'm really excited about that. But before we get to all the email marketing and list building goodies, I want to get to know Stacy and have you get to know her. So Stacy, tell us, how did you begin? Tell us a little bit of your story. How did you even become an entrepreneur? Was that always something that you wanted to do, or did you stumble upon it?
No, actually, it's nothing. I never wanted to be in business for myself. I never wanted to be in business at all. I actually wanted to be the head of marketing at Google. That was that was my goal, and I happened to graduate in 2009. I have a history and political science degree, and I graduated into the worst job market since the Great Depression, I guess. And so there was just no jobs available. There was no place to go. There was nothing out there. And so I took a lot of time. I was working at a spa at the time. And so I just took time to kind of reflect on what I wanted to do and what where I wanted to go. And I started reading this book by David Bach about how to budget your money. And I was like, I would be so good at that. So I decided to move to Seattle and become a financial advisor. And after 6 months, I quickly realized that I was terrible at it. And it was actually the sales part that I hated. I hated being like salesy and in your face and all of that. And so I stepped back and I was like, this is not what I want to do. But I do want to help women, and I wanted to help them budget. And again, we were still in the Great Recession, and people were running out of money, and it was desperation everywhere. So I was like, oh, I could help people budget. And so I started a business called Pennywise, and I worked it for about a year. And that's when I first heard of online business and this whole make money on the internet thing. And it was like this whole new world had opened up to me. And so I just kind of started getting more interested in it. Of course, I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and I was so inspired to start a location-independent business and that runs itself, or whatever the lie is in that book. And
There's no 4 hours. At least
right,
I haven't figured
like
it out yet.
40 hours a day work week, maybe.
Right.
So I set off to do a business called Luxbox, and it was completely automated. It was a complete disaster. And then my husband and I started a blog called Beyond the Diploma, and we traveled the world. We lived in Belize, and we lived in Spain. And when we got back from Spain, we hadn't really made a whole lot of money in this whole online business thing. We were doing fine, but we hadn't really made it work for us. And so I'm sitting in my brother-in-law's basement, on the edge of, giving up and just really desperate for something. And I had one of those breakdown moments, and I just started crying and bawling. And it was that really awful, tears and snot and everything. Because I had just come to the edge of, okay,
I've been there.
I either need to give up, or I need to figure this out and figure it out fast. And my husband came downstairs and he's like, Stacy, what is wrong with you? Why are you bawling? And I was like, it's all your fault. You haven't supported me, and you're the reason I'm a failure. And the second those words came out of my mouth, I realized the mistake that I'd been making in my business, and I hadn't really taken charge of my own success, and I hadn't really believed that I could affect my success and create the destiny that I wanted. And so in that very moment, I was like, all right, something's got to change. And I decided to just go for it, bull by the horn, what's that? Well, I don't want to say the saying. Just go for it, right? And just
Yeah.
go after my goal. So I put together a 3-month telesummit called the Live the Dream Challenge, and I brought together 21 expert entrepreneurs to talk about how to start a location-independent business, the not Tim Ferriss way. And it was a big success, and I learned how to build a list, and I learned the importance of list building and follow-up and sales funnels. And so I said, you know what, I did this, and I can teach other people how to do it, and I can really help people fit that missing piece in the online world together. So that's when I became Staci Ann, and I started staciann.com.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story. And I can say that I felt you on so many different points because I graduated in 2010. So it was the next worst year to graduate. And I mean, the same thing. Couldn't find anything. Didn't know what to do, where to turn. And so I can definitely relate. And I think so many others that are around our age can as well. You go to college and you think that that's going to do something for you, that you're going to do those 4 years or however many years you're there for, and you're going to go out in the world is going to be like totally waiting for you to come and bring your degree, and that's just not the case anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and it was so weird because I had watched, I graduated in 3.5 years, so I was like a straight A student, 3.5 years, I did everything right, and I'd watched people before me graduate and have these great jobs, and it's not like I felt entitled to it. I was working hard for all of this, and I graduated, and it just wasn't, there was nothing there. It was December 2009, and I mean, it was like a wasteland of opportunity, and so it was that idea of, from that moment, I knew that I was going to have to be creative in how I was going to find success, because I think, with people of our generation, they come out of college and they have two options. Either they can wallow in their own misery as a Starbucks barista and wait it out, or they can be creative and take charge of their own destiny, and I wasn't about to go work for Starbucks. So
Me neither.
I had to go do something else. And it's been hard. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that any of this has been easy. It's been hard, and lots of long nights of tears and crying and like, what the heck? And feeling sorry for myself, of course. I'm like, if I would have just graduated 2 years earlier, would have been.
But then, if you would have graduated 2 years earlier, you might have lost the job right then.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would have been the same thing, just different time, I think. And I used to think, I was like, if I was just had graduated in the 90s, like everything would have been so much better, because
you would have lost on the tech bubble.
Yeah, well, I would have been on the rise of like the internet coming to play out, and I could have been a blogger like back in the early 2000s. But I think everything kind of happens for a reason, and I think our generation, with us being so close in age and graduation time and everything, we're the ones that now can shed this light, not only for our prospective fields in our industry, but also for the 20-somethings who are still working at Starbucks and serving and just trying to find that balance. But it's about, like you said, taking life by the horns and just like learning that you have to create this thing. Like whatever you want your life to look like, it's going to be on you to really create it. You can't depend on anyone or anything to set that up for you. So I think that's a great message. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think it's also who you surround yourself with, because like my husband has a podcast for 20-somethings who, he teaches millennials how to kind of get out of the rut and find a job and do all that stuff. And so I think it's about who you surround yourself with. Do you surround yourself with people like yourself and, who are actually out there doing stuff and making a change and deciding to take on the world? Or are you surrounding yourself with people who've decided to just give up or, wallow in their own misery or whatever it is? And I think that's the difference maker, was I chose to step away from the crowd who was woe is me, and I was like, and I joined entrepreneur crowds, and they were all older than me, of course. A lot of the people that I used to spend time with were much older, because that's who I could find, who they were entrepreneurs and they were doing their own thing. So like the average age of my social circle is like 40.
I agree with that.
But they were so inspiring, and so now of course I've reached out and found other young female entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs and to surround myself with. But I do think that makes a huge difference of, do you allow yourself to stay in that situation by surrounding yourself with people in the same situation, or are you going to push yourself to try something new and go for it?
Completely. And just to touch on a little bit more of your story, is that you started multiple things and failed, but kept going. Even though you had that breakdown moment where you're just like, this is not my life, because I've been there too many times. But you picked yourself back up, and maybe it was your husband coming in and kind of, letting you, I guess, realize in that moment that it was you, not even him, even though you guys were doing some things together, but it was still you that needed to take that initiative and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Do you think that it's important for everyone, obviously, to not allow the failures to get in the way of their future success? Because now you're still working and you're successful to an extent, but I'm sure you're still working on being even more successful. But if you would have gave up a few years ago when your few ventures didn't work, where would you be today?
Yeah, no, I think, what is that saying? Like, successful people learn that failure is just the next step, and they don't let it hold them back. So that's the difference. And like in school, you're taught that failure is ultimate, right? Like a bad grade is the ultimate thing, and that failure is bad. But then like I've had to because I'm like the ultimate perfectionist and like type A driven personality, and so those failures were actually more devastating, right? Because I was always a straight A student. I was always the best at everything I tried. I've never been bad at anything I did except sports. So I was just so used to succeeding all the time, and so each failure just was like, oh my gosh. And I know that some people hate to use that word. They're like, oh, it's not a failure, it's a learning opportunity. No, it was like a flat out failure. Like, it totally sucked bad. It wasn't even like a pretend. But it was a learning opportunity. And I think you do have to just get up and brush yourself off and decide that come hell or high water, you are going to work it out and figure out what it is that you want to do, because that's how you grow, And I think it's the people, you've met the people who they tried something and it didn't work out and then they gave up, and like, I don't know, I don't know.
No, I mean, I completely understand, because it's true. There's two types of people, I guess, or there's probably a lot of types of people, but the people who try and fail and then just throw their hands up and say, well, I attempted that thing, and so it didn't work out, it's never going to work out, versus those that, and this is usually the entrepreneur, is the one who is like, nope, I'm going to do it and it's going to fail. That's okay, because I am going to learn from that and it's going to suck, but I have to push forward and I have to continue to move on because I still want this thing. Because this gets into the more mindset, because your why is still bigger than all the oppositions and the obstacles that you have standing in your way. So you just keep pushing until something clicks. And I think, to me, it's like, well, what else can you do in life if you're just not pushing yourself and pushing to do better? I mean, any other way is just settling. And that gets boring, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, and you just gotta. I mean, it's so funny that you mentioned the why, because I never really had a why. I didn't really have like this greater. I feel like a lot of it I just stumbled into being an entrepreneur. I never had like this great mission in life that I was gonna set out and, I don't know, do something bigger than myself. I was like, oh crap, I have no other choice. So I'm going to make this work. And then I just got so into it. I got into the culture of being an entrepreneur, and I found other entrepreneur people, and I actually just realized that this was the lifestyle that I enjoyed. So there's the lifestyle of the 9 to 5, which is great. And if you like that, that's awesome. I mean, sometimes I wish that I could just go to work and then come home and, go fishing or whatever.
Turn it off. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, but it's not what I've chosen, and I know that I wouldn't be happy doing that. So for me, it was more just a lifestyle choice. I didn't really have, and I think that surprises people, that I never really had, and I still don't really have like this big overarching why in my life, because the why changes, I think, for me. I think my biggest why, if I did have one, was just to prove that I could do it, prove it to myself, that yes, like, I've got this. So,
Yeah, and it's your life and you have full control over it.
yeah, but I always love hearing people's like bigger missions too. I know yours is awesome because you're working with like, I don't know, you do really cool stuff. So I always love hearing people that really do have like, you know, this driving, and I want that. You know, part of me is like, I want that, but then another part of me is like, well, do I really need it?
I mean, you know, just like you said, the why sometimes changes. I mean, my why is oftentimes has been like my family, and to be able to provide and to do more. That's like a big personal why. But then my why for like entrepreneurship is to be able to inspire and encourage people to take their life by the horns and just live a bigger, bolder life, whatever that means to them. And usually it is being able to control your finances by starting a business or doing all those things so that you can have control. Like no one, you know, when I worked for a startup company, I had to wait for them to say you're going to get a raise or whatever that may be. But now I just have to create something, you know, and say this month I'm giving myself a raise. And so I'm either going to push to get more clients or I'm going to create something that the marketplace needs. And this is what's going to give me the influx of dollars that I need for right now. And having that kind of control is amazing. I mean, there's ups and downs, obviously, but just to have the control, just to be able to do it, I think that's what everybody ultimately wants.
Yeah, it's also scary. It's scary to think that you're in control, but it's also, I wouldn't want it any other way, because now I'm thinking about going, you know, if I had to go back to work and have a boss, I would be a nightmare to work with.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're doing it wrong.
I say that I'm certified unemployable. Like, I really, really am. Even though I just started working with a nonprofit, but it's all about entrepreneurship. So I'm in control of my program, and I get to like train these young people on how to start businesses. So it's almost the same that I get to do now for adults, but for the youth. And so I still feel like I have the control that I need. And maybe that's what everyone really wants, even if they have a job. They just want to feel like they have some control and that someone else isn't lurking over them and has the right to just cut them off. You know, one day you come in, you have a job, the next day you don't, and you lose all control. And so I think that's what really people want. Is control. To have control over their lives.
Well, just control freaks.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of control freaks. Yeah. So let's talk about when you did your telesummit and how that looks, because that really was the beginning of you building out staciann.com, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, okay. So you, how did you contact, what brought it on? How did you reach out to them? How did they trust or like you to be able to do it? Because that's what a lot of people want to know. You know, they're just starting out in the online space, and they might want to do Google Hangouts with cool people, or they want to start podcasting or writing blogs and featuring people. Was it difficult for you to reach out and get these experts to be on board with what you had going on?
Surprisingly, no. It wasn't hard to get them to say it. The hard part was getting the courage to do it. That was the hard part. But actually, once I started asking people, I just had people just like rolling in. So what I did, I'll just give kind of an overview of what I did. I thought out the program, because it was 3 months. It was 21 speakers, and it was two calls a week. So I planned out what I wanted the topics to be, and then I, you know, I reached out to one person. This was the game changer. I reached out to my business coach, or my former business coach, and I said, hey, I want to do this thing, and I would love for you to be a part of it. And try, like, I wasn't like confident in my asking. I had messaged her on Facebook, and I'd written this really great email, and I was getting ready to send it. And I'm like shaking, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, I gotta do this. And I like closed my eyes, and I like reached out and just like slammed the keyboard. I was like, I hope I hit the enter button. And just like sent it. And that was it. And I was like, well, if she says yes, I'm gonna go forward with the telesummit. If she says no, then I quit, I give up, and I'm gonna go find a job. Probably shouldn't put all that pressure on one person, right? But she ended up saying yes, and so I had somebody else committed to this event, and so then I had to go find these other people. I didn't have a choice. I wasn't just doing it for me anymore. I had somebody else that was on board. And so I just started reaching out and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Do you want to be a part of it? And I needed to fill 21 seats. I asked about 30 people, and so out of 30, I got 21 of them to say yes. I didn't have anybody like super big, on the telesummit, but I had people who were bigger than me and were in a bigger space than what I thought I was. And so and part of, actually, here's how I really found a lot of people. I went into groups on like Facebook and just started like saying, hey, I'm looking for people who are experts in this, this, and this. If this is you, reach out to me. So they were actually coming to me. And so I kind of gave myself the upper hand that way. Not that there was like an upper or lower hand, but that was really how I found a lot of people. So yeah, I think the biggest thing was just having the courage to do it and getting somebody else to commit so that then I had to do it. I had to have the courage to do it. There wasn't a choice,
Right. I think that's the biggest step for anything. Like whenever you're starting anything new, launching a product, a show, a telesummit, whatever, it's just doing it. Like the hardest part is just to do it. So during this time that you're setting up your interviews or your telesummit series, that's when the list building thing really clicked for you? Because I know a lot of people have trouble coming up with the ideas of what to do to build their list or how to attract people to their offers and opt in and that whole thing. So how did you go about doing that?
Well, the list building was secondary to the Live the Dream challenge. And the first thing, this is actually when the one time I had like a big why and an overarching mission, and I was able to accomplish so much, I guess, was I just wanted to help other people overcome what it was that I had been struggling with, because I had been struggling to build my own business. So I wanted to help other people who were in that same situation overcome that challenge. So the goal was never to build my list. The goal was to help other people, and in the process I started building my list. And then actually where it all clicked was I realized that I now had an audience of people to like message and talk to and promote to, and I started getting some feedback, and I was like, oh, this could be really useful. And so I just sort of started playing around with different ways to connect with people and get more people on my list and all that stuff. And so then from there I just put together an entire list building system based around like a workbook and a webinar, and it all started to come together, and that was it. It was like the rest is history.
And the rest is history. Well, that's awesome, because that's what everyone who's starting online, because everyone says that the list, the money's in the list, or the list is the key. Do you firmly believe that, or it's just a part of the bigger picture?
No, the list is not the key. The follow-up is the key. I don't care if you have 1 million people on your list if you don't know how to talk to them. It's not the list itself, it's how you follow up with them, because this is what usually happens. And so people on their list, they get the one email, hey, thanks for joining my list, and then you don't hear from them until they want to promote their next product, right?
Right.
That is not the way that is not going to make you any money, and if that's your plan, you should really just find another way to make money. The key is to follow up with people in a way that builds your relationship with them and introduces your programs, products, and services. So no, the money is not in the list. The money is in the relationship with your list.
Very well stated. I like that, because I know when I first started, that's what I used to do. I used to just build the list, and then whenever I had something to sell or whatever, that's the only time they ever really heard from me. And I was wondering why this wasn't working so well. And it didn't dawn on me till about a year or so ago that I'm like, wait, you really do have to nurture this relationship, because these people, it's people. These are people that are giving you their email, obviously, because they're interested in something that you offered them or your knowledge, and they want to hear more from you. So give them what you're doing. Not to bother, spamming or all that kind of stuff, but to follow up with them and train them and teach them different and give them tidbits or inspiration or whatever it is that you're up to, so that by the time you do make the sale, or by the time you're trying to promote something, they're totally all about you. And they were waiting for you to come up with something that they can participate in. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's so many different ways to follow up with your list and to reach out to people. But you're right, they are real people, and I think that's what people forget is the people on the other side, those email addresses on the other side is a real person. 90% of the time. You know, and I get a lot of these internet marketers who, and it's just a numbers game for them. And so they just send out tons of email, and, you know, they have 100,000 people on their list that they make a sale. But, you know, for me, with a smaller list, but with a great relationship, you can, you know, really actually make more and the quality is better. So yeah, I think that's a great way to say it, is like they're real people. They're real life people with real life problems who really want you to help them.
I agree. So that's the biggest tip of the day, and we'll get in maybe into some more, I guess, list building tips. But more so is that these are people, and they're looking for something, and you're supposed to be able to provide them that thing. So build the relationship, nurture your list, not just build your list, and then promote. It's the same thing, I mean, when you're doing anything in social media. Your fan page shouldn't only be about you selling something. It's supposed to be about building and engaging. So those rules apply all across the board. So
yeah.
Let's get a little more markety, is what I like to call it. And tell me, what's your favorite marketing platform?
Facebook. I love Facebook. Because Facebook is, there's so many different ways to connect with people on Facebook. So it's not just your page that, you know, you can connect with people. You can also get into groups and meet people in groups. You can use Facebook advertising. So if you really want to build your list and you really want to connect with a lot of people really fast, get your butt onto Facebook advertising and really like start to connect with more people, because you only have so much of an organic reach. There's only so many people that you can reach like naturally, and unless you're spending an insane amount of time with free marketing, you know, you're only going to get so far. But if you actually start to shift some of that into paid advertising, you can really just ramp up your success. So Facebook, because you can do it all on Facebook.
I agree. It's a place for the ads, place to build the relationships, there's groups, there's all types of things. So there's a lot that you can do on Facebook. So that's awesome. And like you said, doing Facebook ads is a great way to help build your lists with promoting different offers and stuff of that nature, right?
Yeah.
And so what would you say, and it might be the same answer, is your number one traffic source? Is it Facebook?
Facebook. Facebook, hands down. I spend, and here's why the answer is the same, is because there's like a 500 million social networks out there, and if you try to build up a presence on all of them, you just end up frustrated and spread too thin, and you're not actually building up a community in any of those places, and so all of your effort is wasted. But if you choose one or two, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, I don't care, pick it, do whatever. If you pick one or two places where you can really build a community, then you can become known, and it's like you're a bigger fish in a smaller pond, as opposed to trying to split yourself into all these different ponds, and it's exhausting. It's definitely exhausting. So that's why Facebook is my answer for both, because I built my community there, and people know they can find me there, and my name gets passed around on Facebook because that's where I am. So it's almost like this snowball effect. You know, as you start to be more engaged on that platform, people start to remember you, and they start to recognize you, and then they start to promote for you.
Definitely. That's how I learned about you, because everyone was talking about Staci Ann on Facebook, and I was like, I have to like get to know this girl, because she just seems too cool, and so I wanted to get to know you, and so that's why. Thanks for being on with me today. But so what are your best list building? Okay, we talked about ads and Facebook, but what are some other good list building ideas that people can use to get people to come to them?
Yeah, so joint partnerships are the second to Facebook ads. So like doing something like a telesummit, it doesn't have to be 21 people, right? It could be like 5 people. But getting on to telesummits and then hosting telesummits or doing joint webinars with people, just bringing 2 audiences together is so vital to your online success because, again, you only have so many people, but you plus another person can reach a lot of people. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I just got started. I don't have a list. I don't know a lot of people. Nobody's going to want to work with me, right? I know you're thinking that because I thought that too. And not you, Tiffany, the people out there.
Sometimes I wonder too. No.
And so if that's the case, work with people who are at just a little bit above you, right? Don't reach out to people. I mean, unless you have the guts and you're like really like able to do it, don't necessarily reach out to people who have a list of 20,000 people. Reach out to people who have a list of 100 people or 500 people, because there's still 500 people that probably don't know about you, right? And you can get in front of those people, and it's a little slow. It's a slower process, but think about it like this. Okay, so my husband and I met in college. We had a class together. We saw each other every single day for an entire semester and never said a word to each other. We said like 3 words to each other, and it was like, "Hi, how are you?" My friend Nicole said, "Hey, Staci, there's this guy in your class. He thinks you're kind of cool." "Oh, really? Who is it?" She's like, "Oh, it's Nadar." "Oh, really? He never like talked to me the whole class." And so he ended up connecting with me on Facebook, and because my friend Nicole had vouched for him, I went out on a date with him, and 5 years later we got married. And so that is the power of strategic partners, because you are being vouched for by somebody else who the audience already trusts. So you can say, I'm cool, look, I'm awesome, all you want, but you're not, right? You're telling how cool are you when you have to tell other people how cool you are.
I agree with that. I think you wrote a status about that at some point. I don't even remember. It was some months back, but I was laughing because it was so funny. I wish I could say it verbatim, but it was something along those lines.
But I know what you're talking about. Oh, gosh. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. But if I say, yo, Tiffany is awesome. She's like the best person ever. She's so smart. And man, if I were starting over and if I were building my business, I would go to her to be my coach. Now, now let's pretend that you all actually knew me before today. Because you know me and like me, you're going to be like, oh, well, maybe I should listen to this Tiffany person, right? And so that's where it all comes down to, getting in front of somebody else's audience who's going to say, hey, this person's really cool. You should listen to them. People will go, okay, I will definitely listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, the power of, and that's why referral is so strong. I mean, it's the same thing, but even in the offline, when someone refers business, is because my friend told me that you were a great hairstylist, so I came to you to get my hair done because they said that you were good, and I believed them, so do a good job. No, but, I mean, but that's really how that works.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was actually the third way that I get businesses through referrals, particularly for like any Facebook ad work I do. My entire Facebook ad business is all through referrals. So yeah, no, that's super important. So yeah, strategic partnerships. If you're really ready to like grow your list, strategic partnerships are where it's at for sure.
That was great. That's a great tip. So you guys know. So basically, let me recap. Facebook, or finding your community, and working with that. If you're on Facebook, definitely get into Facebook ads. And strategic partnerships, and grow that where you'll probably get referrals. So those are like very active ways to build your list and build your dollars, because they correspond.
Yeah, well, they're definitely money-making activities, right? Tweaking your website is not a money-making activity. Right. These things are all actually revenue-generating things that you can do. So, like you were saying earlier, if you want to give yourself a raise, you just know that you need to like find a way to make more money, and these are ways that you can get out there and make more money and really affect your income.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. All right. Well, I have a couple more questions because I think we've been on probably like 40-something minutes. But if you could only read one blog ever, what would that blog be?
Oh, I don't really read blogs.
Okay, then never mind.
But I find myself, well, actually, no, that's not true. Well, it is true.
Okay, blog, book, magazine, any of those things.
Shoot. I find myself on Ryan Deiss's Digital Marketer blog a lot for like advanced like internet marketing and online marketing stuff. So I think if I could only read one, it would probably be the Digital Marketer, because it's like advanced stuff, so it's like advanced learning. Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd probably read that. I don't really read, oh man, I'm terrible. I don't really read magazines either. And I don't really read books. So when people hear that and they're like, she must be the dumbest person ever. I just feel like, especially with books and, you know, besides business books, but like with books, I just always feel like I could have written the ending a little better. So I'm bored by like 3/4 of the way in. I'm like,
toss it.
Like, really? Is that how you're going to end Harry Potter? I don't think so.
That's so funny.
Not even going there. But yeah, I think that's a really good one. If you haven't checked it out, it's definitely a good one. If you
it's called
really
Digital Marketer.
Yeah, Digital Marketer. It's like it's advanced level like online marketing stuff. So if you're just getting started, I don't think
probably not the place.
Jump in. You can jump into my blog, but not the Digital Marketer.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that out because I don't think I've heard of it. So that'll probably be a good place for me to go. Yeah. So I'm gonna definitely check that out. So who inspires you?
Goodness, I feel like because so many people inspire me. That's why this question is hard, because I'm inspired. I only follow, and I'm only like my Facebook, like my personal Facebook is only filled with people who are doing like freaking awesome stuff in the world. So I feel like every time I log into Facebook, I'm like, dang. Man, that's like hyper inspiring. So it's like it's not necessarily one big person or one, you know, super well-known entrepreneur. But it's all the people who are just following their dreams every day and just not taking no for an answer, and who are just going out there and just being their awesome self, because it's hard. In this world, it's hard to get out there and be awesome because the world doesn't want you to be awesome. The world wants you to be not awesome. So I think that's super inspiring to just watch people kick butt every day. Caught that answer, huh?
No, I love that answer because I think that is where a lot of the source of inspiration comes from now, depending on who you're following. Because since we're all so enthralled in social media, that's going to have a really big influence on just what we do and how we do it. So if you, I guess, put the key players of just people who are doing such awesome, great things, you're bound to be inspired. And it makes you want to do awesome, cool things too. Versus if you are surrounded, I mean, same thing with friends. If you're surrounded by people who are just not doing anything for anyone ever, not even themselves, you're probably going to be that person. And so that's the important part. But that's awesome. I get inspired by everyone too. I'm like, oh, they're writing a book and they're going to do this and they're doing that.
Yeah, well, I think it's a fine line between being inspired and being, like, jealous or you know, because I believe that, like, success comes from creation, not competition, but it still is kind of hard to log on. Like, I logged into my Facebook the other day, and one of the things I wanted to do for a really long time is go on a around-the-world trip, so buy a around-the-world airline ticket and just go around the world. And I logged into my Facebook the other day, and one of my friends, who I actually know, just bought a round the world ticket, and I was like, man, and it kind of stung for a second because I was like, that's what I want to do. But then the next thought was, heck yeah, that's awesome. If he can do it, I can do it. So now I've just got to step up my game and get it so I can do it. So I think there's like this really, especially because a lot of the people that I'm surrounding myself with, I know them, and so it is hard to be like, not jealous, but also motivated by it. So, like, let it kick your butt a little, but don't let it get you down.
I'm happy you said that, because a lot of people are like, oh, you can't be jealous. Like, I mean, you don't want to be jealous, but you can't help it. Like your first reaction is like, I was going to do that, or I wanted to do that, or why do they get to do that right now and I'm still doing X, Y, Z thing? Who knows? But then you have to let that be your motivator. You're like, well, I wanted to do it, and they're doing it, so good for them, but I'm coming. I'm, like, right after you. I'm, like, coming for you. So I'll be right telling behind you on that world around trip.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we're all in our own like place in our journey, and it's easy to want instant gratification, especially our generation, I think, because we just want it now. We want success now. We've watched Instagram sell for however $1 billion and over after, a year. And it's like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And the reality is that's not how it really works. And the people that do become raving successes, multi billionaires long term, are the ones that stick with it, and they build up their idea continuously. As much as I think it would be awesome to like sell my business for $1 billion after like a couple months, the reality is it's just not going to happen. So I think it's hard to stay motivated, and that's what sets the truly successful people apart, is we stay motivated in the face of our friends doing awesome stuff, in the face of our own businesses failing, in the face of adversity or people telling us that we should just give up. We stay motivated and we stay on the grind, and that's what separates the wheat from the chaff. You didn't know I'm from Kansas, so I can say things like that.
I was like, the what? No. No, I mean, that's a great message, because it's true. You have to keep yourself going, because some days really suck. Like, a lot of us want to glorify being an entrepreneur and just so awesome, such an awesome life. And it's awesome. Like, sometimes it really is. But there's a lot of time, especially when you're in a growth phase, that it's just like your hands at the computer and you're brainstorming and you're trying to come up with the ideas and you're trying to collaborate and you're doing all these things that take time, because they don't happen, like the relationships don't happen overnight. Everything doesn't happen overnight. So you have to just keep waking up the next day, motivated, inspired to keep going. And I think for myself personally, and I want to ask you the same, I guess what keeps me motivated is the people that I see on Facebook or anywhere that's in my circle that are just doing awesome things. But some of the techniques that I use is to meditate and to really go deep within myself and visualize and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing, because you can go and get a job if you want to. I mean, you can. That's still an option. Well, if you're in a job market that allows for jobs, sometimes you can get a job.
Starbucks is always hiring.
Yeah, right? But if you do have a bigger vision, then you just can't let the little things and even the time stop you. You just have to keep pushing. So what are some of the, besides the friends and circle of people, what do you do to stay motivated?
I meditate every day or every night. And I've just started tapping, the like EFT tapping. It's
like what kind of tap dancing? No, what?
No, like tapping, like like tapping. Yeah, like tapping.
And I have to try this.
Like release energy blocks, because my thing isn't, I do not like, I thrive in hyper energetic times when I have a lot going on and I have like tons of deadlines and I have like 8 projects going, and so where I fall prey to the negative mindset is in the lull right after a big project. And so I actually just finished a big project at the beginning of May, and so I was in that lull, and May was really hard for me because nothing was inspiring me. I wasn't like, moving forward, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I kind of got into that doubt phase. And so I was ready to try anything, so I tried tapping, and it's really gonna help to like bust through the blocks. But I meditate every day, well, every night, I guess, because it just quiets it, and it allows you to listen to your own inner voice, whether or not you're meditating to the universe or to God or to whatever. It just allows that silence to come and to reset the brain. Because I do a lot of thinking, and I'm sure you do too. It's like nonstop, just like thinking. And so it's that one time where I get to not think, which I still work on, by the way. Like, even I'm like, quiet. I haven't mastered completely getting everything to just quiet. I feel like my ideas and my thoughts are as big as my hair, and it's just like, it's never ending. And so I try to meditate in order to quiet, but even then I'm like, I gotta
do this thing. And so it's like it's a work in progress for me personally.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it does, because even like the littlest things will trigger a thought, and I'm like, oh man, that would be awesome. But I can kind of quiet it down when I watch Grey's Anatomy or Law and Order.
Yeah, sometimes you have to have like an outlet where it's just like that thing. No, I totally understand.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. So, last question. But I want to ask you what your bigger vision is. But it's just really interesting because when I first started Facebook chatting you, and you told me that your vision was to help women rule the world, and I like died laughing because I just thought that was just that's an epic answer. Is that the bigger vision, to help women rule the world?
Well, okay, super funny story, and I think this really speaks to who I am. When I graduated high school, we all got this like, little square about ourselves in the local. I'm from this super, super small town, 12,000 people, so really small in the middle of Kansas. I had a mohawk, and it was generally not a normal color of hair. I didn't wear shoes for a while, so I was like definitely like the rebel child. And I was vegan, all that stuff. And so they asked us what we wanted to do after graduating high school. And my answer was, I'm going to Bennington College, and if that doesn't work out, I'm going to be the democratic dictator of the world. So, yes, my mission really is to help women rule the world through the power of entrepreneurship, because we have this amazing blessing in this country to be able to choose this route, but so many women around the world can't even go to school, let alone ever know what it would be like to own their own business. And so my true mission in the world is to actually help women become empowered to step up into their greatness. And I do think we're going to see that in our lifetime. And so my ultimate mission is to actually go around the world and teach women how to be entrepreneurs and how to build a business for themselves, because when you empower women financially, you empower an entire community, and you empower them away from sexual violence and all this, from domestic violence, and their children get to be raised in a better society. So yes, my real mission really is to really help women rule the world.
And that is your why. That is your overarching why. And I think it's beautiful, and it's great.
Yeah. Or to, be democratic dictator of the world. I'd still take that.
One or the other, whichever comes first.
Well, first female president, I'd probably settle for that too, but I think that's going to get swept under my feet before I even get the chance to run for president.
Maybe.
Which is awesome. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, right?
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming out with me today. I had a blast. I'm so excited that I got to talk to you in person versus just always online, and I'm sure my viewers and your viewers, anyone's going to see, is definitely going to find value in this interview, so thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think this is a really great format, because usually it's just, like straight interview. This was fun to be able to just like kind of go back and forth and chat and all that good stuff. So awesome.
So where can everyone find you? Well, we see that at staciann.com. Is that your portal, your hub?
You can find me there. I have free training, and my free workbook is there as well. You can learn how to grow your list in just 90 days, 3 actionable strategies that you can use. You can also find me on Facebook, because that's where I hang out the most. You can find me at facebook.com/Staci with an I, and Biz, B-I-Z, and that's where I hang out most of the time. I've got a pretty awesome community of rockstar entrepreneurs that you can connect with. Oh, and if you want to join my my free Facebook group mastermind, you can join that at facebook.com/listbuilders unleashed mastermind, I think.
I'll have that, because I'm going to post this. It's going to be on YouTube, and it's also going to be on my website, and I'll make sure to link back to all of those things so that everyone can have it. Sounds good?
Love it.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining Staci and I today on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. But you can find Staci at staciann.com, and of course, I'll have all the links on the website. So until the next time, make sure you go out there, live bold, create more, and have an impact on your world. And I'll see you guys later. Say bye, Stace.
Bye.